Hey paper crafters, thank you so much for joining me today. I love that you took the time to pop by my channel, check out the video that I've got going, and hopefully stay and poke around a little bit. I'm really excited to be able to offer some videos now and then and share my love of paper crafting. So I hope you find something that you enjoy and come back to see me another time. Bye-bye. Hey paper crafting friends, and thanks for joining me today. I want to share with you today just a little bit of inspiration, I guess. I have been going through some older kits and things that I've got and trying to get those put together, get them off my shelf, and just make something beautiful with what I've got. These are all things that I've held on to for one reason or another. There's been some kind of a roadblock. For this one, I was able to pick it up at a crafter sale. I think we call it craft hoarder sale. And somebody had been selling it. And so I had the paper and I had the workshop guide. I had the stamps that came with it, but I was missing the Cricut cartridge that it called for to make a lot of the pieces. So as you look through this guide, it shows the layout. This is a close to my heart, Workshops on the Go. This is an older one. I'm not even sure when, but I would say around 2012, 2014, somewhere in there. But on here, it shows all of these shapes that it wants you to cut on the Cricut. So obviously just the rectangular shapes, those are trimmer cuts, but then it's got all of these Cricut cuts and it calls for a specific cartridge, okay? I didn't have that cartridge, and so I'd been kind of sitting and not attacking this. I decided to go for it and just make the modifications as needed using my templates. So let me show you what I did. And I think what I'll do is just kind of show you the originals, like what the original design called for, and then how I modified it and what I used. My idea isn't really for you to necessarily leave today with a layout of your own. It's more to get you thinking about how you can use what you already have and make some modifications as needed. So here's the first page of this particular project. There were Cricut cuts up here for this little tag. These hearts were Cricut cuts. And then this banner was a Cricut cut. And then this little piece, turquoise piece here. So here's my page, which is similar, but it's not exact. And I guess that's what you've got to decide if you're okay with. So modifications that I made along the way. First, my little hearts, instead of being a Cricut cut, which obviously I could have found a generic heart just using Design Space, but I find that the time that it takes me to get in and find an image isn't always worth it. But I remembered we had this little heart in the Love at Home a la carte, and so that little guy was perfect, okay? So I just substituted the heart. I think one of the things that you've got to remember when you're doing this is that whoever looks at this layout never saw the original. They have no idea what was in the workshop guide. So keeping that in mind when you're creating is probably a good idea. For this banner here that I was supposed to do as a Cricut cut, I just estimated the width and I ended up just tracing 3 scallops to get the shape here at the bottom. And I made it the width that fit with those 3 scallops. So that worked out really well. It's probably a little bit wider than the original design called for, is my guess when I'm kind of guesstimating back and forth. I guess I could count the number of dots across. It looks like 6 rows. Mine is a partial, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, mine's definitely wider, but I love the way it looks. It's absolutely fine. Okay, and so 3 scallops. For this up here, that was supposed to be a Cricut cut, I just used one of my tiny tags. This is tiny tag 6T. This kind of a tag, I'll lay out sometimes when I'm designing, I'll use a tag like this, but when I cut it, I just use a quick dovetail method to do that. So on this page so far, I've used those templates. And then I had this little spot down here. In the design, it's definitely a Cricut cut. It's got little pieces cut out of it. I ended up just using this Cheerful 3A to get just some fun shape here with it. And I didn't worry about those cutout pieces. Okay, gives me the pop of color, okay, and that is worked out really well. My photos, I could have done this layout if I wanted to. I tend to really prefer a 4x6, so I went ahead and just left them a 4x6 and had it overlap a bit. I'm planning on using this for some engagement photos for one of my sons, and I wanted those full 4x6s to work with. So that's that one. Let's take a look at the next side. Okay. So what I was going for is here. Cricut cuts on this one would have just been this piece here. And it's got a real small scallop that runs right along the edge there. Okay. I think the rest of those are just the stamps. So these were stamped images, and then I just cut with a little bit of extra space around them. So let me grab mine. Here's how mine turned out. And for this one, like I said, the only thing that I really had to figure out was this edge. And so the thing that came to mind first was this Frolic 3. I was like, oh, I know I have a skinny little scallop. When I laid that on there, it didn't quite work as far as the spacing. And then I realized when I looked more closely at the image that I really just needed to freehand around those circles. So I just did a little fussy cut around the circles here. I was able to count how many it had called for and just go with that similar size. I did change the layout of the photos a bit on here as well, simply because I wanted those 4x6s instead. But you can see, like, I've got all of the elements here without necessarily having access to all of those original pieces. Okay, let's take a look at the next set of layouts. The guide called for this layout as well, okay? And it just basically, for this one, all it said is use your remaining supplies and create this. So I took a kind of a glance at this and tried to think about what I could do to make this one work. So rather than this big shape, which I didn't have, and that's definitely a Cricut cut, I ended up using this a la carte keepsake. Okay, and here's my left-hand side. So with that a la carte keepsake, I just traced the whole thing, and I just estimated how far I wanted to jog it over on this page, and I made a straight cut here. This is on the other page. Okay, there was definitely another Cricut cut up here at the top. Let me show you what it looked like. Had a lot of detail and some cutouts, but it was really just this kind of curvy edge here that came in from the top. For that, I ended up using Expressions 6. Okay, so I just cut that, just a piece of it, used a doodling pen, and made the little lines like they are here, and then still went ahead and tied the twine around it. And I think that effect worked just as well. Okay. Down here, they showed another cut with this piece here. So for that, I pulled out my ripple. This was from one of the old club kits. Pulled out the ripple, and I just traced that on the turquoise paper and tried to kind of duplicate a similar shape. So here it had this little point and then a curve. I just duplicated that look. Okay. And again, I think it turned out just fine. I'm happy with the overall layout of it. It's not exactly like what was in the booklet, but again, nobody's going to know that when they look, right? They don't know what it looked like to start with. So here's the other side. So there's that other piece of the keepsake template. And on here, I just had that other end that I needed to do. So that was that same method using the ripple template. And then there was this end of this kind of little banner piece here. And I kept looking at that thinking, what exactly do I have that would work for that? And first I thought, oh, let me use banners. And I pulled out the banners template and the point was going the wrong direction. And then I realized that it's kind of the opposite of your normal bracket. And so I ended up using the bracket instead of the traditional like this way. I turned the bracket around and just traced to pick up that curve. So I know you can't see the whole thing because there's embellishments on it, but that's exactly what it looked like on here. So kind of fun to be able to figure all of these things out. It was like a little bit of a puzzle. So I ended up with these beautiful layouts that I'm super happy with. So there's that 2-pager. And I know I'm not quite in frame with all of it, but I'll just give you a quick picture of them. And then here's this one. I've got engagement photos ordered and I've got layouts ready to put them on. And I got something off my shelf, which is a huge accomplishment all by itself. So by pulling out just this random collection of templates, I was able to create everything that I needed instead of spending hours trying to figure that out on my Cricut. And I used things that I already own. So I know that a lot of you have got a lot of templates, and sometimes you're sitting there thinking, oof, I don't know, I feel like I have too many, I'm not sure. Crazy what you can end up pulling out with this variety. Now I've got this idea in my mind and I can continue to roll with this and see what else I can create from these templates that I've already got using an existing kit, using some sketch, finding an idea somewhere and then creating my version of it. So hopefully this is inspirational for you and gets you thinking and creating too. I always enjoy the time that you spend with me and I appreciate it so much. I hope I see you next time. Bye-bye.